Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael, and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a user named I Just Like to Bake in the relationship subreddit. The post is titled, "My BF is going to propose, but I do not feel loved anymore and am questioning the relationship. My boyfriend and I have been together for a very long time. We dated from the time we were 16 to 22. We then broke up for a while, but got back together when we were 25. We are both 29 now. We live together, and I know he is going to ask me to marry him soon, so I want to get my feelings in order before anything happens. I love him, I really do, but I feel somewhat unloved. I know that once couples become comfortable with each other and live together, the spark or whatever can fade, but I do not like feeling this way. I still make an effort. I ask him how his day went, I am affectionate, and I am intimate with him. One thing that really bothers me is that when I say something, a lot of the time he ignores me. When I bring it up, he says that he did not hear me or that he was busy. For example, I will say, "Did you see there is going to be a strike tomorrow?" And I will not get a reply. I will wait 10 seconds, still no reply. Then I will ask, "Hello, did you hear what I said?" And he will go, or grunt in response. He does this often, just abrupt responses after ignoring me and me having to repeat myself. I would understand if he did this because I was talking his ear off, but I am not even a talkative person. Yet, when he talks about anything, I pay attention, respond properly, validate his opinions, and reassure him when he needs me to. Affection-wise, I always give him hugs and kisses. He hardly ever does this anymore without me asking. I compliment him and tell him that he looks handsome. He has not complimented me in any way in probably over a year now that I think about it. I still look the same, appearance-wise. I have not gained weight or anything, so I do not know what changed. Have things just become stale? Is this what inevitably happens? This whole situation has been troubling me for a while, but I am not sure what to do. Our anniversary is in 2 months, and his sister accidentally let it slip that he is going to propose. If it were not for that, I would think that we have been together for too long and he is now sick of me. I tried talking to a few of my friends who are already married, and all I got were varied versions of "that's how men are." He was not like this before. He would pay attention to me, talk to me, and overall I just felt more liked, Now it just kind of feels one-sided. The one time I attempted to bring it up, I opened with, "Do you still like me? Because sometimes it does not really feel like it." And he replied with, "If I did not like you, why would I be here?" I could tell it was going to end up in an argument, so I just let it go after that. How do I handle this situation? I want to bring it up with him, but I do not know how to do it. I guess I am not really good at articulating how I feel. Or should I not say anything because this is just the way relationships go? Please advise me because I am a little lost. Update. I thought I'd provide an update. Thank you all for the advice, I appreciate it. So the day after I posted here, I talked to him. I told him that I feel a bit disconnected and that I'd like it if he paid more attention to me and talked to me a little more. He just said okay, but I could tell that he wasn't interested. The next day, there was no change and I was a bit annoyed, so I spoke to him again. I said that I'm starting to feel lonely in the relationship and that I feel like he ignores me and isn't as affectionate as he used to be. But all he said was that he didn't want to talk about it. I said that it was important and that I might want to end things if we can't talk about this. Only then did he actually pay attention. He said that he ignores me because he's tired, and as far as the affection and attention, he said, I don't know, things just change, I explained that I understood all of that, but that I needed more, that maybe it was unreasonable for me to want that, and maybe the type of relationship I want doesn't exist, but I would not be happy in this relationship if things stayed this way. He then said he'd try more, that he'd hug me every morning before work, try to respond more when I spoke, and give me a compliment now and then. I didn't like how it felt like a list of chores he had to do, but at least he was willing to try, so I agreed. I also asked if there was anything I could work on for him, but he said there was nothing he could think of. By the end of the first week, he already seemed annoyed with the hugging. He'd let out a big sigh, and it seemed like he was doing it begrudgingly. This felt awful for me, like I was forcing this man to give me a crumb of affection, but at least he was doing it, I guessed. My breaking point happened last weekend when we were getting ready to go to a party. It was his friend's party, and it was a fancy affair, so I had to get really dressed up. His niece and her boyfriend were also going, but came to our place because she needed help with her hair. She has gorgeous butt-length hair and wanted to curl it. As soon as her boyfriend saw her after getting ready, he said, "Wow, you look so beautiful. You look like a mermaid," and hugged her. No prompting, no asking. He just did it. That's when my boyfriend called me aside and said, "I guess I have to compliment you now, right?" That was it for me. I said that I was feeling sick and needed to go to the bathroom. We were all supposed to leave together, but I stalled for a few minutes and told them I was sorry and they should leave. And if and when I felt better, we'd meet them there. As soon as they left, I spoke to him. I said that I was sorry I wasted his time and that I was so sorry I didn't notice all of this sooner. I said that I appreciate his effort, and even though he was doing what I asked, it was not enough for me. I don't want to feel like a chore for someone. I understand that the honeymoon period or puppy love thing doesn't last forever, but I want someone to just like me, to like me naturally and instinctively as a person. After explaining that, I told him I was sorry again and that I was ending things. He started freaking out and told me to think about it some more, but I was sure of my choice. He then said that he understood and was sorry and asked if I would still go with him to the party as our last night out, and also because he was going to be embarrassed to go alone. I felt bad because I didn't mean to do this on this day, and I didn't want to leave him hanging, so I agreed. I really didn't want to, but I went and we managed to keep up appearances. Then in the middle of dinner, he proposed. I was shocked. I didn't know what to do and felt trapped. I didn't want to embarrass him or myself, so I said yes. Everybody was congratulating us and I was in hell. It all felt so awful and it was difficult not to start crying out of frustration. In addition to us technically being broken up, he knows I hate being the center of attention in public like that. When we got home, I asked how he could do such a thing. How could he put me in such a terrible position? He said, "I thought maybe proposing would change your mind." I said that it didn't, and I just said yes because it would have been awkward if I hadn't. I gave him the ring back, packed some of my stuff, and left. He was freaking out, asking me what he was going to tell everyone, but I told him to say whatever he wants, that I changed my mind, I'm flaky, whatever. I was emotionally exhausted and didn't care anymore. I feel awful, and I wish I could have handled that whole situation better or smarter, but I panicked and now we're here. Everyone is probably going to think I'm a jerk, but I honestly didn't know what to do. Anyway, things are over now and I'm staying with my sister until I gather my bearings. He's been texting me, trying to convince me to reconsider. I honestly feel a little lost because he's the only boyfriend I've ever had, and he was such a big part of my life, but I know I made the right choice. Talisa87 said, "My girlfriend told me she wants to break up, so I'll propose in a way where she can't say no and that'll fix it. Wait, why is she still breaking up with me?" What a toad. I hope she did end up taking her scary sister to get the rest of her stuff. To this comment, Happy Sparkly Unicorn said, "I remember one story about a girl whose boyfriend used to ask her for stuff when she was stressed. For example, if she was worried about getting fired at work, he'd suddenly spring a visit with his parents on her because she was more likely to do whatever he suggested than have an argument on top of everything else she was dealing with. Eventually, she noticed the pattern and dumped him, straight before his college exams. Strangely, he cried about how insensitive she was for doing it then, as if she was supposed to wait for an appropriate time to dump him. The guy was manipulative as hell. Salt Pancake said, "I wish so much that OP had said out loud in front of everybody that they had broken up a few hours ago, that she was here as a favor and asked what he was doing." To this, According Pears said, "She has become extremely used to placating him to avoid a fight. It's a basic instinct for her at this point. I hope she can find her voice after the breakup. The way he totally ignored that she'd said anything really resonated with me. My abusive ex-husband used to do that all the time. There's nothing that degrades your sanity like being treated like a ghost, as if your existence and words don't even matter. Even years later, with a very wonderful husband, I still get this catch-in-my-throat panic when someone takes a bit too long to acknowledge me. Perpetually not being acknowledged really screws with you." This next post was made in the same subreddit by a user named 10-Year Perspective. The post is titled, "For years, my husband said that if I want stability in our life, then I have to make it happen. I did. Now things are worse than ever." This is part genuine request for perspective and part getting it off my chest. To sum up, my husband and I have been married for 10 years. We have a good marriage and have never faced any truly difficult times. It's difficult to explain everything that goes into this, but I'm happy to elaborate in the comments. Basically, the last decade has largely been focused on achieving financial independence. I had never been a very business-oriented person until I met my husband. He is extremely entrepreneurial and his passion for it is contagious. We have run our own businesses together and separately throughout our marriage. The goal has always been to make enough money through location-independent businesses so we can live freely, not necessarily retire, but have more freedom. Because of his encouragement, I am now on a career path that could easily result in that. In 10 years, we have moved 25 times, all because better opportunities have presented themselves or current opportunities have dried up. We're now facing move number 26 with number 27 not far away because number 26 doesn't look like that good of a prospect. Without giving away details, my business fluctuates greatly. I've had months where I pull in mid-five figures and long stretches of only a few hundred. My career outside of this is in food service with a very definite wage ceiling. My husband's career is professional and he can easily find a six-figure salary position. His current online business brings in low four figures. We have always relied on him going back to work when money runs low. He's in high demand and can practically snap his fingers and get a job. I cannot. Here's the conflict. My husband is completely burned out. He physically and emotionally can't deal with the stress of going to work right now. He has supported me through the last couple of years when my income has been low. I've always been aware of my financial contribution and make up for it by carrying the vast majority of the household chores, even when I was working 60+ hours as a manager and earning half his wage. But as our savings are dwindling, it's looking more and more like I'll have to get a job. That means pushing my business to the back burner, working a physically demanding job, all for a quarter of the pay he could get. I'm not one to spend money. We didn't have a wedding. We bought my wedding band 3 years after we got married. I cut my own hair. I work from home in sweatpants. It is not as though I forced him to work jobs he hates in order to provide me with an extravagant lifestyle. I have worked unpleasant jobs to help provide for us in the past, and even when my business isn't earning much, I still put in 50+ hours a week. I'm craving stability, not permanence, just the feeling that I can unpack our boxes and not feel like I should save them in a closet, knowing in 6 to 9 months I'll need them again. We've been child-free for years, but in the last couple of years, the topic has been coming up more and more. Yet I feel it's impossible to even discuss the idea of starting a family in the face of such uncertainty. I miss my cats. I want a fish tank and a place to hang pictures. He says, if you want those things, then make them happen. Which, fair enough, I completely agree with. I don't want to rely on him to provide the life I want. However, it leaves me feeling a combination of emotions I can't really put a word to. I find myself going through mental exercises of what would I do in this situation if I were single? How would I support myself? And I start to feel resentful. I'm not single, I'm married, and not only that, I'm not sure I can make enough money to support us. I desperately want him to find what it is he's meant to do. I don't care about the money or the dreams of financial independence if it means he's miserable trying to get there. He's been trying to work out which direction to change to for the past year and has yet to come up with anything solid. I know it's all about give and take, but I can't help but feel. I don't know. I don't have the words. And I'm at a complete loss as to how we resolve this. Edit. I appreciate all of the comments and opinions. This got a lot more response than I expected. Just a few things, it's difficult to sum up an entire life in a few hundred words. The moves have been for varied reasons, and obviously with 25 of them, there were multiple reasons. Some were because my husband was offered a good job, others were to be nearer to family. I have been pursuing my side business for the last 3.5 years. The 7 years prior to that, I was in full-time employment, sometimes working a full-time job while also helping to run our own business. He has not financially supported me for 10 years. I'm not sure where people got multi-level marketing from, but I'm in a creative field. As I said, I don't want to reveal details, but I create products and then sell them online. We are not scam artists, nor do we have to leave town because people are catching on to our pyramid scheme, which is not the case. As far as financials go, again, it's impossible to sum up 10 years of income, but we go through feast and famine periods, times when money is flowing in and times when we live off what we've earned. We never live outside our means, and when money is good, we put thousands a month away to prepare for the downtimes. It's not a typical way of living, so I understand it's not easily relatable. Update. I'm writing partly to sort all this out in my head and partly for outside perspectives. I don't even know what to think anymore. Again, I'm happy to explain any details that need fleshing out if it helps. I'll try to be concise, and I truly appreciate you reading. 9 months ago, I posted asking for help about my frustration with going back to work after my husband burned out in his career. For the sake of anonymity, I tried to be vague with the details, and many thought our work was on the dodgy side. I don't care about keeping it anonymous. All of these factors are relevant. I'm an author, I self-publish books, and made a decent living doing it for several years. My husband is a software developer and mainly buys existing online companies and fixes them up to sell. When that's not working, he tries to work a normal 9 to 5, but typically lasts no more than 6 months. His last attempt was 1 day. My career before this was in the food industry, which means low pay, long hours, and very sore feet. I got a job that pays 95% of the bills. Yeah, I'd rather be working for myself, but I like it. I'm good at it. It's the first time I actually enjoy going to work. For the last few months, I've been slowly changing, and it feels like my husband and I are drifting apart. At first, I thought it was a natural phase. Things will definitely feel different compared to working under the same roof all day and night. Now, I don't know. I am making enough money to support us, and it feels good. It's given me confidence in a way I haven't had before, but it's also made something glaringly obvious in our relationship. We disagree on just about everything, and we have very little in common. I'm happy to work on my writing on the side while I work. He thinks I've given up on our dream and have settled for a world he is loath to spend time in. He sold his business and is still figuring out what he wants to do next. I want to buy a flat in the city. He wants to move to the country or use our savings to travel or live remotely. I want to settle for a while and make friends. He thinks there's plenty of time for that in the future. I want to make our home cozy and put up decorations like photos and artwork. While he likes it, he thinks of it all as just pointless stuff we shouldn't waste money on. I could go on, but you get it. It feels like literally everything I like, he hates. I've also realized that most of the moves and most of the big decisions were things I went along with. I'm not saying he bullied me or anything, just that I didn't feel too strongly one way or the other, so I tended to go with what he wanted. Of course, we talked about it, but it rarely was me pulling in the bulk of the income, so I didn't feel like I had much of a say. Now I feel strongly about a life direction and have the ability to make it happen, and I feel guilty. He says I've changed, that he's the same as he's always been and wants the same things he's always wanted. This is me altering the situation, which I agree with, but it's not like it's this massive bait and switch plan. Our entire marriage, I've talked about settling down. I'm rambling. Here's the way I see it. We both love each other and genuinely want to make the other happy, which is why over 10 years, we've both compromised on choices that go against what we individually want. He goes to work for a little while so I can have a semi-stable home. I bounce around the world with him so he can discover himself and his career. But our tolerance for these periods has become too short to manage. He physically can't work for another person. I want to scream when I think about packing up my stuff and starting over again. Have we just spent so much of our marriage being distracted by the exciting newness of moving and pushing for financial independence that we didn't notice how little we have in common otherwise? I can't help but feel like this is on me. Not my fault per se, but on my shoulders. I'm the one rocking the status quo, and if I want things to balance out, it's up to me to adjust my expectations. 7 years later, OP gave us their most recent post. I was recently cleaning out my bookmarks and found this old throwaway along with the 2 posts I made with it. I'm not sure why now, but I feel compelled to write a follow-up. Maybe it'll give people the bravery to change, or at least serve as an example that sticking with what you know isn't always the best choice. To make a very long story short, with the help of those posts and many long nights of thinking, I left my husband. In fact, it took him going away for a long weekend to realize how much happier and at peace I felt without him around. At first, the split was amicable, but looking back, I think he was just waiting for me to come rushing back once I realized my mistake. When that didn't happen and he saw I was serious about building a new life for myself, a switch flipped. We only spoke when he needed something from me, and eventually that stopped too. Enough about him. I'm now 42, happier, healthier, and more satisfied than I've ever been in my life. I picked myself, and that was the best choice I could have made. I lived alone for the first time, and my God, the peace of having my own space was unrivaled. I ended up staying in that apartment for 5 years, not a moving box in sight. I put art on the walls, I knew my neighbors, and I made a home. I grew my career and went back to school. I made friends and built a little community. I've done a ton of therapy and realized that the abusive patterns my parents created in childhood were just repeating with my ex. I fell in love. A real love, a supportive love that encourages growth and security. I'm doing new work that helps people and is so much more than just chasing money. All of these things have created a life that's more rewarding than I ever thought possible for myself. I've gone through some really difficult times too. Illness, cancer scares, deaths, loss, but I have no idea how I would have come out the other side without the community I'd built around me. Even something as simple as people at your local coffee shop recognizing you is a comfort after feeling adrift and alone for so long. Anyway, if I were to respond to myself from 7 years ago, this is what I would say. Leave the loser. He doesn't care about you, never did. He only cares about what you can do for him, and now that you aren't serving him well, just go. You are capable of doing difficult things, and you are worthy of the work it takes to accomplish them. Trust your abilities, trust your gut. It's been screaming at you for years now, honey. Life can be so much more than you've experienced, but you have to make it happen for yourself. Edit. I'm surprised but happy this reached so many people. I genuinely thought I was going to bookend this story and have it disappear into the ether. But whatever urge I had to write it, and whatever brought you to reading it, who knows? Maybe it was meant to be. Thank you for all the messages and comments. I feel so grateful to have this perspective and experience. Engineering Queen said, I was expecting something like him being an on-site construction project manager, so they had to move for every building he worked on. I was not expecting that he was a software developer who hated work. I could tell from the first post that she was being delusional about how financially independent they were. They worked 3 times as hard just to stay afloat, rather than putting in 40 hours a week and getting some breathing room. Pseudonym said, it's nice to read the happy ending so long after the original posts. Good for OP. To this remarkable mood said, the part where it's even nice that the local coffee shop knows you and recognizes you. Oof, I had a moment like that when I was pregnant. My husband would always stop at a local shop and grab me coffee and himself tea. Well, when I got pregnant, the coffee had to go. I was reluctant because I do love coffee quite a bit. I went from extra strong to a lighter brew to decaf and finally down to peppermint tea. It was during COVID, so I didn't get out much. After the baby was born, we went for a stroll and popped in for a nice warm beverage. The second the staff saw us walk in, they cheered with lots of "I knew it," and someone yelled into the back, she was pregnant, who had January on the board. We both laughed and they gave us some congratulatory donuts. Apparently, my order had been quite the gossip. They had been running a betting pool on when the order would change back, aka when I was due. I'd never felt so seen in my community. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video, and thank you also to partner of the channel, Gamersupps. Use code DLAM to support the channel and get 10% off of your purchase, link in the description. I'm sure many of you like me have a hankering for daily caffeine, so go check them out. Lately, I've been a big fan of Titty Milk and Acid Rain, but they've got dozens of other flavors for y'all to try out. Anyway, thanks again for reaching the end, and I hope you all have an amazing passage of the next 24 hours.